Hello, welcome. You are with Dr. Sushma Singh. Today in Unit 11, Gender Perspective on Development. Let us start our lecture with topic Post-Emergency Planning of Women Development. The period between 1977 and 1980 witnessed significant policy review exercises by the government. Among them were the report of the Working Group on Employment of Women, report of Working Group on Development of Village Level Organization of Rural Women, report of the National Committee on Role and Participation of Women in Agriculture and Rural Development. These review exercises constituted a substantive base to the conceptualizing of fundamental problems and strategies of women's development in India. The Indian agenda of women's development got incorporated into the United Nations mid-decade program of action, mediated through the non-aligned movement special conference of women and development in Baghdad in 1979. India gained membership of the Commission on the Status of Women and the Preparatory Committee for Mid-Decade Copenhagen Conference and Program of Action. India's contribution to the emphasis on Third World perspective on development was acknowledged during the mid-decade conference, and there was the consequent adoption of employment, health and education as a sub-theme of the decade's agenda. Veena Majumdar's examination of the conceptual approach enrolled through these few years identified women's development need as having multiple dimensions cutting across economic, social and political sectors, requiring explicit examination of women's situation on various sectors. She called for an earmarking of a share of various sectoral allocation for women instead of limiting it to women-specific programs or agencies. She also called for the promotion of rural employment and development through women's own collective organizations such as SEWA, etc., which were paving the way towards such path. The sixth five-year plan released in December 1979 marked a new beginning as it included a separate unit on women. Till this time, women's concerns were always subsumed under sectoral approach in health, education, rural development, agriculture, etc. This unit was a first attempt at the holistic planning for women. It stated that the objective of population control could not be achieved without bringing about major changes in the status of women. This plan suggested the need for administrative innovation and the collection of sex-wise distribution data on development assistance, thereby urging for better information together with mechanism to ensure women receiving their due share of government's attention and support and equal opportunity for growth and distributive justice. These principles of women's involvement in the planning process also sought to extend support for organization of rural women similar to organizations of the rural poor in the effort to improve their bargaining power and access to the development assistance. However, the new planning commission set up in 1980s reverted women back to the social services and put on hold the outward-looking strategies, approaches and perspectives developed for women. However, The intervention at this stage by the National Women's Organization made a definite impact upon the planning process. A period of partnership began between the few cells on women that had been set up within the Ministries of Labor and Employment, Social Welfare and Rural Development, and the growing women's movement and women studies scholars. 7 women organizations got together to submit a joint memorandum in 1980, gathered support from the women members of the parliament, and thereby persuaded the planning commission to incorporate a unit on women and development in the 6th plan. This was a landmark achievement in India's planning history. Now let us start the next topic, the 6th plan unit on women and development. The unit on women and development acknowledged women's lesser status in society and traced it to the inadequate opportunities of independent employment and income and demographic trends. It defined a multi-pronged but interdependent strategy for women's development, which would be dependent on the total development process. Regarding cases of transferred assets such as agricultural and homestead lands, the redistribution policies of the government promised that government shall endeavour to provide joint title to husband and wife. It also advocated strengthening of the grassroots women's voluntary organizations, which were envisioned as channels for women to participate effectively in decisions that affect their lives, and for promoting adequate development efforts for women at different levels. For education, special support services were to expand women's access to all types of education. The institution of the women's quota and magic figure of 1/3 made its first ever appearance within the TRISEM program. The 6th plan also proposed corrective measures in sectors where women's employment is low or on the decline. Here we want to close this lecture. Thanks for listening.